waste time, get it in. Why wait? Saying tomorrow, but you got today. Put them excuses away. Pick up the pace. If you really want it, then you gotta chase. Hey, I need a whole lot of space. Make some room. I gotta prove that I'm nothing like you. And I'ma do it. If it's in the way, then we going through it. Like a Peloton, gotta keep it moving. Talk is too cheap, you just gotta do it. You ain't gotta like it, cause it's got to prove it. Only one way. Gotta bring it straight to their face. Ain't nobody safe. Plus it's only one first place. Know what that means? This ain't a fight, it's a war. We focus on up in the score. If you think you better than battle. If you really with it, then battle. Just battle. If you think you better than battle.
Let's get it.
Only first place finishes, so I seek and destroy every one of my nemesis. My power limitless, and my scorecard is perfect, it don't have no blemishes. No apologies, cause I ain't ya, it's just my nature that makes me a different type of creature. I'm a bitcher, bonafide gamer. Before you blame me, better read the disclaimer. I'm that force to be reckoned with. I know your mama didn't warn you, you shouldn't be messing with. You don't compare to me. We're not the same, there's no similarity. Moment of clarity, you should be scared of me. Run all, you'll never get rid of me. So incredibly outdone. If we go to war, I'm the one you can't outrun.
Only one way. Gotta bring it straight to their face. Ain't nobody safe. Plus it's only one first place. Know what that means? This ain't a fight, it's a war. We focus on up in the score. If you think you better than battle. If you really with it, then battle. Just battle. If you think you better than battle. Just battle. If you really with it, then battle. Just battle. If you think you better than battle me. When it's time to ball. We back in the field, we ready, it's time. It's nothing but hustle inside of the huddle, you know that I grind. A dangerous mind, a weapon of choice when pushing the line. Go overtime and I won't break when it's crunch time. My end game is number one. Bet it all, give me my cash. Supreme game, can't stop it. Take off like a rocket. Break your back, don't bend mine. I'm the one now, you can't hide. Legendary like legacy. This is our moment, our time. This is our moment. This is our time. Time is now. It's time to rise. This is our moment. This is our time. The time is now. It's time to rise. Yeah. Coming for glory. We ready for war. The city's behind us. We giving you more. We ready whenever. The world is watching. The time is now. No other option. No other way. Play to win the way that we play. Destined for greatness, born to be great, ahead of the game. In front of the pack, leading the way, it's time to reign. The kingdom's here, this is our year. Been to the bottom, ain't nothing to fear, we running the game. Rushing the field for every yard, on every play. Nobody's safe, rise when we fall, but never stay down. The champs is here, doing it for the 10. This is our moment, this is our time. The time is now, it's time to rise. This is our moment, this is our time. Time is now, time to rise. It's our moment. It's our time. Feet in the dirt. Nose to the ground. Like the crack of dawn. You can't stop the shine. Moment after moment. Day after day. It's our time. Lock and loaded, it's time for war. Ha. Tear down, kick in the door. Yeah, I want it all, give me some more. Ha. I want it all, give me some more. I want it all, give me some more. Yeah. Kill them all, it's time for war. It's time for war. Like pandemonium, I set it off. Yeah. Sacrifice, I bear the cross. Legendary, I'm a big dog. Hard knock on the front line. Pure blood, my bloodline. Headshots the first time. My aim good, bullseye. Warfare. Don't play fair, don't play fair. You not sure? Don't go there, I'm right here. No fear, I'm ready to go at top speed. No brick wall can block me. No army can stop me. Yeah, I want it all and I can't lose. I came far and I won't stop. This my time, I pay dues. Yeah, it's war time and I won't retreat. I want it all, give me some more. I kill them all, won't taste defeat. Now bow down at the king's feet. It's time for war. I want it all, give me some more. Kill them all, it's time for war. Kill them all, it's time for war. It's time for war.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we welcome you to coverage of iRacing on LSRTV as well as on the Community Radio Network as we prepare for what will be the final race in the Northwest Racing Series round of 12. We are excited to see what goes on at Kentucky Speedway. We talk about the race first. Obviously, I'm Wesley Outland. Justin Prince is alongside. We've got Charles Rutan manning the production of the broadcast coverage as we are also simulcasting on radio, as always, at wearecrn.com and 87.9 FM. But, Justin, I have to say this. If there is any inclination of a shot to try to put yourself into the round of 8, tonight is your last chance to do it. There's some drivers that are former champions that are under the gun. I think this is going to be a wild race, no holds barred, to determine who is going to make it to the round of 8 after a much-needed week off next week.
Absolutely, the pressure is on for some. You mentioned Chris White, for example, the champion from last campaign, 25 points under the cut line entering tonight, has had some struggles in this postseason. He'll be someone in a must-win scenario, to say the least. You have other drivers in that mix, like Sean Brightsman, just 4 points above the cut line, above Jeff Stabnell for reference, with Kevin Smith very close to him in the standings. The pressure, I think, is on, to say the least, especially at a tire track management like this racetrack tonight. It's expected to be very difficult, let's put it that way, if you want to have a chance to advance for some of these drivers with how some of their postseasons have gone. For some of them, they have to win.
Hands down, they have to. And I really believe also that the analogy that I used, the Hail Marys, the crazy desperation moves virtually are going to have to be done here. You got to be thinking smartly, because when is the right time to make those moves, Justin? Because if you make it too early, it might be something costly. And you might be ready to race in a couple of weeks at Talladega, other places. But bottom line, your chance at a championship is done.
And here's the major thing to consider, too, in terms of that point of, is it too early to say go for a charge? Tire wear's been a major talking point for Kentucky Speedway in this race tonight. With the setup, these drivers will be running 60 laps. Some of the drivers have been able to run at the most on the tires. Why is that significant? This is a racetrack where, depending on how you handle those tires, you might be able to one-stop it if it goes green. So tire wear is so important at a track like this. And for some, it might be the difference between being in the round of 8 and being on the outside looking in.
Justin, final question, and then we get ready to go to break. Who are some drivers that you think are going to come out from the bottom of the 12 to make it in the 8? Or is there guys that are on the cusp of being eliminated you think they might come out? Do you think the pressure will get to them, is what I mean to say?
I think the pressure is going to be difficult for drivers like Garber and White in terms of points. Cooper, it's a rough going. I think Kevin Smith is that one driver who's outside of the top 8 looking in, who has the greatest chance to be able to get himself inside the round of 8, because he's performed better at times this year compared to Jeff Stabnow, who is on that bubble right now. The tough thing's going to be Kevin Smith has had some attrition buildup that's seen him shake back down in the standings a bit. If he can keep it clean, he might be able to jump Jeff Stabnow or even someone like, say, a Sean Brightsman out of the playoff picture.
Well, to elaborate more to that, I was going to say number 8 man, Jeff Stabnow, former champion, successes, hasn't won a race since 2020. Could this be a good night for him? We know he successfully does well on tracks that are like intermediate mile-and-a-half tracks. Could we see him do well, or does he hang back to try to points race to advance into position number 8?
Honestly, the points race in his position, I don't think it's as simple as just hanging back. I think it's as simple as run top 10. Put yourself in the right spots to score points. You cannot score points if you finish the race at the back or have to claw your way from the back to the front. So if you're someone like a Jeff Stabnow, you need to make sure you've gotten the right practice in. You need to make sure you take the right strategy. And honestly, a 2-stop might be a costly strat if this plays out the way it could on fuel, but it also could be one where if you don't save the tires right, say if you're especially Stabnow, who had one of the top times in practice for reference, you better hope you're able to make that right window, because that might be the difference between a lead lap finish or a top 5 and a top 25.
Before I begin and before we go to commercial break, first off, I got to say thank you to Jeff Stabnow, Charles Wooten, and the powers that be for Rocket Media and Live Sim Racing for allowing us to be able to do what we're about to do. Obviously, if you can tell, for those that are watching and for those that normally hear the emphasis and excitement in our voices that Justin and Prince and myself always entail, we really don't have that right now. We will do our best to get that some way along the way, but we have lost Rick Eshelman. Obviously, I've also been able to wear the World of Outlaws and dirt car racing apparel tonight, because for several times on my broadcast career for 27 years, on many occasions, I've had the privilege to work with the World Racing Group on special events like the World Short Track Championship, the World Finals, Dirt Car Nationals, and many more. Rick Eshelman took his life this past Saturday. He was a staple in the motorsports industry, not just to dirt track racing, not just because of his voice, but because of the person of who he was. And I did not even know this until coming on the air, that Rick Eshelman was also somebody that Justin Prince knew. Justin, what can you say about the life of Rick Eshelman?
Well, I got the chance to work with him for his esports work with Dirt Car Esports a few times back in 2021, and just in the short interactions with him during that respective series, could tell the amount of knowledge, the amount of passion he had for motorsports, and calling the action for those respective races back in that time. I didn't get too many opportunities to meet him personally compared to some of my fellow colleagues over the years. But I will say this, it's an emotional time when you lose someone such as that stature, someone in that role in this type of a situation. It's difficult to put words to it.
Yeah. Yes, he certainly was that type of person for me. I'll tell my story quickly and we go to break. Whenever I was 19 years old, probably 4 years in my announcing career, went to Eldor Speedway. Wasn't even there, just there to just learn, to just go to be a part of it. And Rick Eshelman, I met him, and me and him sat down on a park bench in the infield pit area, and we talked for over an hour about the do's and the don'ts, and what you can do, what you can't do. You can be anything in this world. Chase your dreams. So many things that he instilled in me. Somebody I really looked up to. And he passed away on Saturday, October 1st, my birthday. Those are just some of the memories that I had with him. That was the last race that me and him worked together with World of Outlaws 2 years ago in Tennessee. Gone but not forgotten. A voice that will remain forever in our hearts, in Justin's heart, in my heart, and for several many others. Rick Eshelman, Godspeed. Thank you for the knowledge, the memories, the moments, the words, the friendship, even greater than an announcer will ever have.
Your CRN, my CRN, our CRN. We are CRN. The Community Radio Network now and the new WCRN 87.9 FM. And still always anywhere worldwide at wearecrn.com. We are CRN. Welcome to the Community Radio Network. Follow us always via social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at CRN Sports. Plus, listen to the new CRN 87.9 and still anywhere worldwide at wearecrn.com. We are CRN.
This is our series,
so many different pieces that you have to watch out for,
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it?
They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Hey, it's broadcast personality Wesley Outland up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week. Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. I'm Wesley Outland, Justin Prince alongside, and we are ready to go Cup racing. Final race here tonight at Kentucky. Should be a wild one. There's the man that's been the #1 man all year long in the Cup Series. Will he get his 12th win 2 wins in a row. That's the driver, the number 9, Blake Peterson in the Hooters car. He's on the pole to the outside. Kevin Smith in the 00, row number 1. Row 2 at Kentucky, 2020 champion Sean Brightsman and the Catman James Viney with a great qualifying effort. He'll start 4th. Row number 3 will find Cole Raz, one of those drivers that are under the gun in the Truck Series, but definitely reigning supreme in Cup. He'll start 6th. And Caden Anderson alongside in the 37. Had some heartbreak last week at Iowa. Could tonight be the night at Kentucky to put him in the playoffs? Next round, Troy Daggett of the 99 and Jeff Stabnow, the man of the number 8 seed in 8th. Top 10, field rolls off pit road. Robert Gamble and Aaron Cooper, your top 10 ready to go, Justin, as we begin pace laps.
Row number 6 tonight, featuring the number 4 machine of Brian Barnes, 8 points above the bubble. We'll start alongside Stephen Paulson's 58 machine. Then behind them in row 7, Dan West Jr. plus 20 from the cut line. Start alongside an LSRTV machine of John Ottenbacher. Row number 8 features Jaden Ledbetter, his own enemy, as he stated pre-race. He'll be starting alongside one of the drivers needing a good run, the 47 of Chris White. Followed on behind them in row 9, it's Ryan Bloom looking to cut his way to the pack from 17th in the 25 car. The 7 of Brett Johnson, the top 18. Rounding out the drivers to take times in the field tonight, the 12 of Brian Reynolds and Carl Burke starts in 20th in car 53.
Row number 11, Casey Garber in 94, BJ Tidrick in 72. Row 12 on the grid, Toby Ritters in 23, Ron Hunter in the 22. Row 13, we'll find Frank Harris by himself, 25 cars, ready to go. Understanding Casey Garber having some technical issues, unable to take the green flag. Weather conditions, we'll give it to you in just a moment as the field gets ready to come to the start line here at Kentucky Motor Speedway. Ready for the final opportunity to punch yourself from the round of 12 to the round of 8. Green flag goes in the air. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a virtual race. It is showtime to decide who is going on to the next Run for Championship. And quickly on the jump, Justin, it is Blake Peterson jumping out in the early going as they work off 2.
Down the back straightaway for the first time, the top 4 single file. James Viney stuck on the top to begin the run. The 99 of Troy Daggett. Gonna take him low. Caden Anderson joins the conga line as the bottom line starts to 4.
Field works off of turn 4. Look at this 3 wide racing, quickly fighting evasively to get to the front, down to the bottom of the racetrack, to the apron, all the way to the top side. Here goes cars everywhere. Cooper, Stabnow. Take your pick. Jaden Ledbetter on board with him on the opening laps.
Ledbetter trying to wrap the bottom underneath Cooper, one of the playoff drivers. Several drivers slide to the 3rd, 4th lines. Vining and Stabnow lose ground a bit out of 4.
All this happening as the leaders work off turn 4 back to the start-finish line. Couple of laps into this race here in the round of 12 finale. Tonight in Kentucky, 12 will be whittled down to 8. 8 drivers will battle 1 week from tonight after a break-off for the championship next round in the round of 8 to decide who goes to the championship 4 at Phoenix or Homestead. All this going on in turn number 3. Anderson, Vining, Stabnow trying to peak to the bottom as they work their way back across the start-finish line. A conga line of traffic. Not tonight, Justin Prince. They are all over this racetrack. Precision banking, progressive banking, a word we didn't really talk about at Kentucky in the early going, and it's going on.
So far, so difficult, though, for drivers to try and maintain momentum. Stabnow passes Anderson on the outside, able to make the second groove work. Diamonds it down to the middle of the bottom groove. Some drivers trying to hug the yellow line around this track early.
Back across the start-finish line. All of this transpiring now with another lap on the board. About to put 5 laps, a handful complete here at the Kentucky Motor Speedway. This is 200 miles, 134 laps, the same distance that usually the real-time NASCAR Camping World Truck Series would race at Kentucky. All of this going on now as the leaders work the 3 and 4. It is still Jeff Stabnow holding on to that spot now for 6th. but he's got Anderson, Daggett, others going on in a battle for the lead. A three-car battle for the lead. Raz to the inside, Peterson up top, and Brightsman, he don't know whether to go every which way to loose off two, Justin.
Raz peeling Peterson off the bottom. Brightsman watches in the popcorn seat, chooses the outside group, follows Peterson. He tries to diamond it. Raz tries to clear Peterson and does. New race leader Cole Raz out of turn 4.
But Jeff Stab now is under attack in the top 5, as we mentioned earlier. Look at him holding these cars off at bay. He is now trying to hold off that gaggle of traffic. Meanwhile, now Sean Brightsman trying to hold off the likes of Raz and Peterson. Action everywhere in the early going to the back straightaway at Kentucky.
Brightsman using up a lot of tire early. Raz sends it to the inside. Brightsman lets it roll off of the second groove. He drops back to second. Raz back to the lead out of 4.
Back to the lead off turn number 4. Back to start finish. Side by side, almost a photo finish at the line. 15 thousandths of a second, the differential between Brightsman and Raz. And all of this racing continues on. Working off 2.
Keep in mind, plenty of shifting starting to happen through parts of the pack, with the leaders, Brightsman and Raz, playing mind games with the tire strategies. Same we said on the heart of the pack with Brian Barnes, trying to mix up the lines, trying to battle it out with Reynolds.
Back to the start-finish line, put another lap on the board as Brightsman is the man out in front. Look at this gaggle of traffic, desperation. Points, position, that's points on the racetrack. That's points on the scoring pylon. Positions, they also entail who's going to the championship 8. And for many others, Justin, they're just looking for a chance to look for an upset win here tonight in Kentucky.
That will be huge for many drivers. Barnes, remember, one of the top drivers in consistency for most of the campaign, working the outside down the front straightaway. 125 to go.
Back to the corner, back into turn number 1 and 2. It's Brightsman. Now look at this battle going on. 3, 4 rows, 2 by 2. Justin off turn number 2.
Down the backstretch, Barnes tries to keep it up top, nearly smacks the wall. Pulls down the run, sends it deeper than Reynolds. Reynolds with the better roll. Wraps the bottom. Barnes burps the throttle. Daggett holds back the 4 on the outside group as well.
And while that happens, Reynolds is stuck down to the bottom of the racetrack. They're playing wingman or Top Gun, loose goose, inside, outside. Which way do you go? All of this chaos going on here now. 10 laps in, a long way to go, and darkness settling in also as they work off turn 2.
Barnes still ripping the outside groove, looking to try and make things nice and smooth and cool like the popsicle. The pressure is on behind. Ryan Bloom starting to make his charge, gets the inside of Barnes.
Field comes back across the line. Another lap on the board here. It's Brightsman, the man out in front, with Raz in second. But look at this battle going on down into turn number 2. Reynolds inside, Bloom outside. All this happening to the back straightaway.
Pinching starting to become prevalent. Bloom with the pitch on Reynolds. Reynolds with the bumble at the edge of the first seam. He misses part of the bottom. Bloom zips by. Reynolds starting to drop early.
Watching him go back off into the turn. Still a long way to go here in this race here tonight at Kentucky. Look at this wild log jam of traffic. Aaron Cooper up on the outside. Dan West Jr. Look at this here on the turn 2.
Give and take from Cooper into 3. He lets by the playoff drivers of West Jr. and Chris White to the inside. Cooper ducks back to the inside. Barnes looks outside off the corner.
Back to start finish. Look at under attack, the defending champion, Chris White. Does he need to do something now? He goes to the 47 machine after for months all year being in truck number 6 or 83 last year. The champ is here. He needs to go on to the next round. To do that, he's got to have the race of his life in the round of 12, Justin. He's in turn 3.
It's not been the greatest of runs for White so far overall, but for Chris White, he's a +8. He's one of the quick movers in the mid-run so far.
By the way, for those that are watching, as always, to try to help you, of the 12 drivers that are in the playoffs thus far, the yellow panels on the top of the windows as well on the rear spoiler of the cars. Will give you the yellow to help you keep up, and also for us in the booth of where your favorite playoff driver is. All this transcending as the leaders work their way back to start finish. This is a different camera angle from another view on board with Briar Reynolds from the front view of the front of the car, and Briar Reynolds is under attack by Bloom, Ledbetter, Paulison. Oh yeah, Daggett and Gamble reeling him in on a turn number 2, Justin.
Reynolds trying to hold things back with Bloom, trying to hold things forward. Ledbetter falls on behind to the line, takes the second groove. Paulison to the third groove, nearly got in the back of him. Having to burp the throttle off the corner as Barnes nearly clocked the wall.
Brightsman, Raz, Stabnow, Peterson, Smith, your top 5s. 15, 16 laps in now as the field flashes across the start-finish line at speed.
Still settling things down. The top 5 have built up nearly a 2-second bumper over the rest of the pack. The pace so far up to a 10th quicker for your race leaders. They're making their way off of turns 3 and 4. Chris White still amongst those trying to battle in the heart of pack 2 off of 4.
Pretty hard racing, but clean racing for the most part. There was a car that was up against the outside safer wall barrier just a moment ago with problems falling back, still holding it together. All this transpires with Brightsman still the leader. Here's now Paulison, Ledbetter, Bloom in front of them. Jeff Stabnow, by the way, up to third. He's coming. He's running down Raz and Stabnow. Jeff Stabnow looking for the lead off turn 2 as they come back through the tri-oval correction to start finish. Justin, I mentioned in pre-rush show how good Jeff Stabnow is at these kind of tracks. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we mentioned some of the concerns, at least from what we've seen from his season. Tonight, Stabnow is having one of the best runs, in fact, his best run of this respective round. Keeping things clean, keeping the pace up, looking to the outside of Raz, still far back though, by 3 car lengths to get to the 10.
All of this happening as they come back to the start-finish line, about to put 20 laps on the board of this 134 lap contest of 200 miles at Kentucky. Raz to the inside, Brightsman up top side, Stabnow, where do you go, Justin? They're working their way to the leaders off 2.
Raz nearly into the fender, Brightsman with the squeeze. Brightsman tries to stick it up on the second seam.
Oh!
Raz at the yellow line holds onto it. Still side by side for the race lead.
What a move by Jeff Stabnow. He thought about going 3 wide. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. He'll try again as they go to turn 1. Nothing there. He'll thread the needle again to make a move in the middle of the lane out of 2, but he backs off.
Raz tries to keep the lower line. Brightsman has the pull down the straight. Stabnow falls behind Brightsman. Raz, the quick flick to the yellow line for the entry of 3. Clip the yellow line. Tried around the whole corner. Nearly gets by Brightsman. Brightsman holds firm.
Man, did you see that sharp turn that Raz made a moment ago when he dove off into the back stretch going to turn number 3? I thought he was going to arc the car and lose it. This low to the apron he went. Stabnow tries to pull the trigger again to the inside, to the middle. Nothing there, JP. They work off 2.
Brightsman just about clear. Raz tries to duck in line, now takes his low line. Diamonds it underneath. Sends it hard on the apex. Looking to clear Brightsman. Brightsman holds the throttle. Keeps it to the edge of the fender.
Oh, and by the way, we now have a 5-car battle for the lead. Also Kevin Smith and Anderson and Peterson to this mix. All this happening now with Raz leading the way. Now they go single file. The top 5 are into the back straightaway.
Raz slamming the door in Brightsman's face. Looks to complete the fast Foley and does. Brightsman now getting zipped by Jeff Stabnow. Brightsman now under attack by Kevin Smith for 3rd.
Single file now. Top 5 now get into a big pile here down to the inside. This big bunch up of traffic pulling away now. Because why, Justin? They get single file, they get faster, they pull away from the pack, going to 3.
Keeping the rhythm together indeed. These are the 5 quickest on the track. Stab now takes the second groove. Raz, the short distance on the apex, holds firm up at the point for now.
Back to start finish line. It's still going to be Raz, the leader. Stabnow to the number 2 spot. Let's see what Jeff Stabnow can do. It's been since 2020, the last time he went to victory lane in the Northwest Racing Series. He's got a great run going for him right now in the early going, 25 laps in as we approach 100 laps to go. They're in turn 3.
Our peak for Stabnow to the outside groove. Raz still playing solid defense. The question is, though, with how they're racing, Wesley, how will the tire wear fare out for the rest of this race? They are quicker than most of the pack by 3 to 4 tenths a lap.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Justin. That's one thing we can definitely reiterate on, buddy, is in this early going of 25 laps, these drivers have gone to the whip, and they have gone to the whip hard. There is no holding back. Since the drop of the green, every lap, every position is every point to determine who goes into the round of 8. As we see these drivers desperately fighting, you've got Raz. He's in. Brightsman, I believe he is also in, but Jeff Stabnow, the number 8 seed, he needs to do what he needs to do. By the way, correction, Brightsman and Stabnow, Justin, they're in 7th and 8th. They also need to have a good run like they are in the early going.
Stabnow to make sure he holds on to his spot. Stabnow absolutely doing what he's needing to do. Here's the trouble spot. Kevin Smith watching still in the popcorn seat, with Brightsman and Stabnow still playing pokey-poke to the outside of Raz. Raz still holds on by a car length.
Cole Raz, winner at Auto Club, at Charlotte Roval, and last week at Iowa, it was Lake Peterson. Caden Anderson is the number 3 seed, and Dan West Jr. I would probably say for those drivers, they are in the comfort level. They are okay. But Justin, for everybody else, they are going to be on the defensive. They are going to do everything they can to win tonight, or at least salvage some good points to go to a championship run.
That's the major thought process at this point, absolutely. If you're amongst those drivers towards the bubble in particular, momentum is so critical when it comes to a postseason, where if you end up losing momentum, it's hard to gather it back up, and it's hard to claw your way back from even one bad race. Stabnow starting to feel the effects of the tire wear out a couple bad corners off turn 2, starting to miss the bottom in 3 and 4 a bit. Brightsman trying to get to work on the Ford in front.
Back to start finish line. Another lap will go up on the board with Raz the leader, Stabnow second, Brightsman, Smith, Peterson top 5, and as Justin mentioned, some of the fastest cars all season long, now mixed with drivers that are in desperation mode. 30 laps in here in Kentucky.
Battle is on for 3rd spot, meanwhile, into turn 3. Brightsman under attack by Kevin Smith. 0-0 in the 46 side-by-side. Aaron Cooper with an issue down the back. Side-by-side for 3rd still out of 4.
Look at this happening to the line. Back past the Geico restart zone to start finish. They roar to 1. Outside, throwing the block is Brightsman. He'll go up the hill. Down to the bottom is Smith. Smith will throw the arc of the diamond to the corner. Can he get the run, Justin? He's trying to make a move there for 3rd off 2.
Brightsman trying to use the outside as a defensive measure. Offensive measure to the send goes the 0-0. Kevin Smith misses part of the bottom. Brightsman better run on the outside. Zips on by as they're losing touch to Raz and Stabnow.
Yeah, all this happening now is Raz and Stabnow, like Justin said, are gone. You're on board from the right rear quarter, from the right side of the number 00 of Kevin Smith, the Click and RV from Walla Walla, Washington. Battling one of the drivers, a former champion from Puyallup, Washington, now from Tucson, Arizona. Look at the gauges in the red, in the 4th gear, up to high gear, trying to make everything happen on board with this driver, as we are currently now 32 laps on the board this time by, as they roar back to start finish. It's 1 and 2. Raz and Stabnow give them about 8 car lengths, maybe 10 to Brightsman and Smith. Justin off turn number 2, still on board as Lake Peterson's closing in.
Peterson taking a few peeks here and there, but has been just riding, keeping things cool. Waits 2 car lengths behind Kevin Smith. Brightsman with the bad arc in front of them all the way nearly to the apron for a moment as they try and regroup on Razin Stab now.
Regroup, trying to make something happen as the leaders work their way back across the line. With now Raz under attack, Jeff Stabnow is coming. 3 car lengths, 2 car lengths, trying to reel in. Faster is on the straightaways, quicker in the corners, I believe, is Stabnow. And while they begin to ensue a battle for the lead, Justin, here comes now Brightsman, Smith, Peterson. 5 cars for the point again out of 4.
The gap has shrunk in half between second and third over the past few laps with how they're starting to get back single file. It also helps when Stabnow and Raz are starting to look around a bit. Raz preferring the full bottom off of 2. Stabnow trying a higher arc. Stabnow takes a little poke into 3. Higher arc for the entry. Raz, the quick line, trying to stick the bottom. Stabnow trying to use a bit of the banking, loses ground though as the front tires slide.
Yeah, back across the start-finish line again as Raz and Stabnow continue to have that battle going across the line. Back to 1 and 2. Inside and outside. Stabnow one more time, peeking to the bottom. He holds off Raz. Raz will one more time. Bonsai move off 2.
Out through 3, Raz doing what he needs to do. Very consistent throughout this night so far. Stabnow keeping him honest throughout this run so far.
And back across the start-finish line. It is Raz and Stabnow going at it. And now there's a battle going on now for 12th, 13th, 14th. Bloom, Ledbetter, Daggett, Tendrick, all these cars going at it back into turn number 1 and 2. Best battle on the racetrack. There's action everywhere, Justin, on lap number 36.
Jaden Ledbetter using the outside groove to his advantage. Looks to clear the black and blue 25. Into 3. A hard send by Bloom. Still using a bit of space is Ledbetter though. Ledbetter quicker on the gas. Ledbetter with the better acceleration avoids a bump from Bloom.
By the way, you look at those 2 cars of Bloom and Daggett behind him. I've said this the last couple of weeks, Justin, since Ryan changed his rap job, if you will. They just look so identical. It's kind of hard to notice what car is which.
They're not the same blue though. Keep in mind, you have Boise State blue for Bloom, Daggett with a more navy blue. He gets by B.J. Tidrick in the 72 coming from the back.
And Tidrick, we mentioned B.J. Tidrick, man, in the hospital a couple of weeks ago with a massive hand injury, had a finger cut off, had to deal with surgeries and trying to get everything repaired. He missed a week or so, Justin. Good to see him back in the Miller High Life 72, a 2-time winner on the series at Darlington and Las Vegas.
He looks to the inside, meanwhile, of Ryan Bloom. One of the hard charges of the second half of the run. Tidrick inside clears. B.J. Tidrick up 10 spots to 12.
And they roar back across the start-finish line. We are at the top of the hour. We'll pause for 10 seconds of radio identification. This is the Northwest Racing Series Playoffs on the Community Radio Network.
Community Radio Network, WCRN 87.9 FM, Clayton, Garner, Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. We are CRN.
Welcome back to Kentucky. Justin, Wesley, Charles in the production box in the playoffs, round of 12 finale. Cole Raz is the man out in front, obviously winner back at Auto Club, trying to win the first race of the year and the last race in the round of 12 as well. Justin, he is the man out in front. Oh, and yes, yeah, it does make sense. First race of the year, he won Daytona. He's doing really good right now, Justin, here on lap number 40.
Still keeping the tempo set. Brightsman has fallen off the table by 0.3 a lap, but the rest of the top 3 and top 5 in particular. Brightsman 0.3 slower last time. It's gotten to where Caden Anderson and Dan West Jr., who have been long adrift from the main pack most of the race, are within half a second of the number 9 Lake Peterson. 3rd through 5th have fallen off a cliff.
Brightsman somehow, someway in that Brights Boutique entry, you don't even see the top 2 cars in front of them anymore. He has lost ground on all of them. Raz and Stab now, Brightsman's Brights Boutique Toyota. The interval shrinking, Justin. He's losing ground on the leaders in the 3.
In through turn 4, Brightsman trying to find a way to stop the bleeding, is struggling to rotate though. Up the track goes Brightsman, way up the track, nearly to the wall.
Harris Cooper on pit road. Burke, first car out, with Garber unable to start. Those are some of the updated stories in the bottom of the top 20, as it's Raz the leader. Stab now, Brightsman, and look out, Peterson and Smith
Trouble
and
back
Anderson
straight
having
away.
a battle.
Yes, near trouble with them. Kevin Smith nearly turned himself across Caden Anderson's front nose. They hold on to it, no damage. We stay green through 3 and 4. Back single file they go.
What a save by the 00 of Kevin Smith. Maybe we can find a replay of it and show it to you on the small screen, because that was really a scare fighting amongst those drivers. And drivers, Justin, might I add, that don't need to have bad luck going into the final playoff race of the round of 8.
A little bit more space given after the contact by Kevin Smith. Gets a squeeze back though for Anderson. Meanwhile, over the radios, a pit stop call coming from the 9 of Lake Peterson. They watch the 9 coming for a very early stop. Kevin Smith joins them.
Jeff Stab now on pit road. Lake Peterson on pit road. Kevin Smith on pit road. All of these drivers coming in for service and green flag pit stops. No yellow flag yet on lap 45, Justin.
And that's an interesting play, electing to go for the tires instead of the fuel mileage with the way the fall-off has gone throughout this race tonight. Stab now up onto the jacks. Most of the field coming in at 45 laps with their 20-gallon tanks, looking in for the service, using the first of their sets. Sean Brightsman joins them in the inner end of the pit lane as they look for their first scheduled pit stop to the race. Raz Anderson, Dan West Jr. still going, as most of the field getting in nice and clean to start the window.
Vining, Reynolds, Smith, Barnes, White, Bloom, Paulison, Audenbacher, Gamble, all of these drivers coming down to peel onto pit road. And boy, oh boy, is that going to change the pendulum spectrum of things and scatter cars all around the racetrack. It's now 3rd place. Dan West Jr. brings his Chevrolet on pit road, JP.
So Dan West Jr. peels it in from 3rd. That also brings Jaden Ledbetter, Troy Daggett into the pit lane. It is an intriguing call to elect to go for a 2-stop run a race like this. The fuel mileage, as long as you're able to save a bit, can be 67, but there is the risk, as we mentioned at the top of the show, that if you try and go there, there's a chance of a tire puncture. It appears many of the contenders for the championship, including many of your round of 8 lock-ins and round of 12 drivers, electing to keep it safe tonight outside of Raz and Anderson, as well as a couple non-playoff drivers.
Justin, do you find it abnormal that we've gone over 50 laps caution-free and we would have seen a very lengthy green flag run, 50 laps in and pit stops, and this is just shuffled cars everywhere?
I don't find this abnormal for Kentucky. It's a track that,
right,
not just because the green walls, because of the way the track is, that tends to trend green. It's extremely difficult to get a caution here. Let's put it that way. It's extremely difficult to get involved in an incident. But it's worth noting, Jeff Stabnow, the first of those who had the pit stop so far, might be hoping that the strategy is green as money for them compared to those looking to be on the 1 stop. He has a 2.3, 2.4 second buffer over the rest of the pack.
And by the way, Raz, Anderson, Ritters, Hunter, and Johnson have not pitted. They've got to pit. So when that happens, Justin, it will cycle back around to Jeff Stabnow as the leader in 24.
BJ Tidrick, it appears, has a black flag, so take the 72 out of contention. He had been one of the big movers. Not so much now, but yeah, keep in mind, drivers had mentioned in Kentucky for official racing with even the Gen 6 car that if you save at lap 67 pit stops, that is a massive amount of time. You could save 43 seconds alone in the pit lane. Here at Kentucky is a lot of time you have to make up on the track.
Did you see Ron Hunter eat the fence? The 22 machine working off of turn number 4. Slams the safer wall barrier, working his way around the corner. No harm, no foul. He continues along. We're on lap number 52.
Really trying to burp the throttle, and at this point, Hunter might be starting to struggle with the tires. 23 seconds back of Cole Raz currently. It's a major throw of a strategy for Hunter trying to stretch it. But who knows how this could play out in the long-term game. Might be the play for the 22.
Ron Hunter right now sitting in the number 5, 50, in the top 5 and 4th is what I was meaning to say, with Raz the leader. Anderson is in 2nd, Ritter's 3rd, Hunter and Johnson. Those are your top 5. Jeff Stabnow piles back on the lead lap as he moves past the leaders as well. They've got a pit. Stabnow methodically, inevitably, whenever they do, Justin, going to go to the lead unless somebody can catch him, like Blake Peterson. Oh, and Peterson is in his mist.
Peterson slowly chipping away. Peterson played very cautiously last run in the number 9 Chevrolet. This run looking a little bit more darty, a little sporty. Lost a bit of ground with the traffic last time, but Peterson seems a little bit more aggressive on the throttle. He makes his way down the back straightaway, looking to catch up to the car in front to get his lap back fully, or at least get the Stabnow rather, to make it a fight as he bursts it through 3 and 4.
Back across the line, and look at this now, battle heating up. I'm understanding that this is inside the top 10. Raz, Smith, White, cars that are a lap down, trying to get back on the lead lap. Justin working around Raz, the leader in the 10.
A little bit scary if you're the race leader in that sequence. Near contact a couple times for Cole Raz. And West Jr. now takes a bit of a peek. Now goes higher on the arc. Kevin Smith too hard to the corner. Here comes Dan West Jr. with the pole out of 4.
By the way, lap number 67 will be the halfway mark of the race. That'll settle us in for our mid-race race report. Our mid-race report right now, Dan West Jr., 2-time defending Truck Series champion. They battle on Thursday. He's already punched himself an opportunity to go probably to the next round of the round of 8. 2 wins on the year for Dan West Jr. And Justin, he went to victory lane for the first time in the trucks in a while to put himself in the playoffs as well.
Dan West Jr. was very strong earlier on in this round. Tracks like Auto Club in particular. Consistency's been there again for the 55. Having troubles in the dirty air, though, of Kevin Smith down the backstretch, losing ground from a little roll through 1 and 2 with the dirty air. Kevin Smith sends it hard. Dan West Jr. this time matching the line, trying to keep him honest through 3 and 4.
Yeah, I like that word, keeping it honest, because that's exactly what he's trying to do with Kevin Smith. Got Dan West Jr. right there in his crosshairs. All of this going on. Back off into the corner for 8th and 9th single file. You got to wonder, when do you make a run to the front? And if you're one of the drivers outside the top 12, Justin, that need to get into the top 8 before tonight, when do you become impatient and make a daring move to do that?
Well, if you're Kevin Smith, you need to be able to find a way, I think, to get to Peterson, to get to Stabnow especially. He needs a caution. He needs a roll of the dice with the way things are playing. He elects to play patient with Dan West Jr., lets by the 55 down the front. But the tough thing for Kevin Smith, he does not have the track position to battle for the race lead. And the driver he needs to finish in front, one of the drivers, in fact, both of the drivers he needs to finish in front of, are having better days than him. that may be a dagger if he can't find a way to get a roll of the dice.
It is Cole Raz, Caden Anderson, Jeff Stabnow, Toby Ritters, Blake Peterson, your top 5. Sean Brightsman. This battle you're watching right here with Dan West Jr., Kevin Smith, who he was, with Ron Hunter and Brian Reynolds, the top 10. Look at now Ritters. Well, that's actually now Peterson running him down. And while that goes on, Justin, here comes the leader, Raz, onto pit road.
And that, not a good sign for if the 10 can make it to the end. Obviously not in the fuel window. The concern might have been maybe with the tire. Remember, there's a risk of blowing out the tires at 60 laps if you push too hard. Raz taking the stop before the halfway window. All eyes are now on Caden Anderson. It might be now Caden Anderson's type of race to dictate on the strategy.
Gotta wonder if he could be able to possibly go halfway and then come in and pit. You know, we mentioned tracks like Iowa and Vegas, places he's done well before. Justin, this is right in the wheelhouse here at Kentucky Motor Speedway. 1.5 miles, kind of intermediate, got that dog leg tri-oval, if you will, the tri-oval. He knows these places. He's had a lot of success. The Yakima, Washington driver, oh, by the way, needs to have a good run to put himself right now in the number 3 seed, but with a win, Justin, that automatically solidifies. He goes to the next round.
Giving a lot of space to the lap trap from Jaden Ledbetter down the back straightaway. But this, a big play for Anderson. Remember, you mentioned it, having the cushion. He's trying to utilize all that cushion in terms of points for the win.
See the scoring ticker now on the top of the screen, keeping up with the interval distance with the gap of the drivers on the racetrack. As now, there you see inside, Anderson being bypassed by Daggett, Johnson, 99 and 7. There's the 37 down to the inside. Justin, when does Caden Anderson say, I need to pit? When does he give it up? Or is he trying to stretch it to halfway, you think?
He has to stretch to halfway. He is committed to the halfway strategy at this point. And look at the top of the interval in particular. 12 to 13 seconds. That is absolutely a huge buffer when you consider things. If he can get this to play his way the rest of the way, that could be absolutely huge for a margin of victory. Anderson needs to make it a couple more laps on gas for his strategy to have pay dirt potentially, though.
Yeah, hands down, I believe that as the field works their way to the back straightaway now. Look at now, Brightsman on the outside. Peterson, he didn't need to show up for this race, Justin. He could have took off, but you know what? Blake Peterson is a professional. He wants to win. Obviously won at the Roval. He won, of course, last week in Iowa, which was an upset to many. He is trying to make a point to put himself into the championship run in that number 9.
And so far, Peterson, the odds-on favorite, keeping fairly conservative race. But Anderson has only made it to the start of lap 67. He just peeled in the pit lane now. The 37 is in.
Field to come to the line next time by. They will get the cross flags, meaning we're halfway through this race. And of course, it will be 67 laps down, 67 laps to go. And it is all out in front. Caden Anderson, as we welcome you back inside of our broadcast coverage here. I'm Wesley Outland, Justin Prince down below. Mid-race report. Justin, for the most part, my friend, it has been a fairly clean race. Not saying that's not been good racing. Hellacious racing at the drop of the green. But I think after that cycle of green flag pit stops, it is settled down. And definitely this is a different race than what we were expecting.
I was kind of expecting a calm race when it comes to Kentucky because it's a difficult track to get some passes at. It's a rhythm track in turn. Got a very difficult turn 3, obviously, but also it's a strategy race and a strategy track. And guess what? With what we've seen with Anderson so far tonight, The strategy dice have been rolled in terms of fuel, and the major interesting mark's going to be how will this play out the rest of the way with some of these drivers for this race win, with one driver who's able to make it on no more stops, and everybody else who has to come in one more time.
You like the fact that Caden Anderson is rolling the dice and he's trying to stay out till halfway?
I like that call, absolutely. I've seen it work for several drivers in the past with this distance in laps. It just takes a lot of patience and execution. You cannot afford a caution flag, though. A caution flag comes out, Anderson's strategy is out the gate and out the window. At this point, though, that's the major thing and the major gamble for everybody else, especially if you're Jeff Stabnow. You're hoping you have the pace to reel him down after your pit stop at about 25, 30 laps.
Besides the front runners, besides what we're seeing, we're looking at Jeff Stabnow. We're looking at some other drivers that are on the outside looking in. Sean Brightsman with a good run. Are these good opportunities to see these drivers? If they can't get it by wins, can they make it in by points? Obviously, do you think they need to turn up the aggressive limit?
Well, Brightsman's doing exactly what he needs to do in regards to points with running top 5 for just about the entire night. So I think Brightsman, as long as he keeps it clean, is in the exact position he needs to be in terms of points. The concern, though, is for everybody else who needed to score strong points finishes tonight. Take, for example, we mentioned Chris White, former series champion. Currently, back half of the top 10, not running where he needs to be able to outscore who he needs to. As mentioned, a must-win scenario for him. Other drivers like Brian Barnes, even, that's the concern too, to potentially get leapfrogged with the way things are going by the 00 Kevin Smith. If Barnes drops back a couple more spots, guess what? Barnes might be on the outside looking in. So there are so many chances of shuffles here. As long as some of these drivers execute, they can put themselves in good spots, but others need to put the tempo up. They need to find that extra couple tenths that they've been missing this race.
One more question. Not trying to jinx anything. Do you think we'll go caution-free?
Honestly, I think based on the trends, no one's getting loose. No one has slammed the wall too hard. I'm going to risk the jinx and say, yes, I think we go caution-free with the way this night's playing out. This is a caution-free type of night with how things are playing out here in Kentucky.
And that has been your LSRTV mid-race report here in Kentucky. Let's go back to on-track activity. Lap number 74 of 134 on the board. 80 laps to go, or actually 70 laps to go. And, man, this racing action coming down to the wire here. 61 laps to go. My apologies. My number's off tonight. 61 to go. As it is Peterson and Dan West Jr. having a battle, going at it in turn number 2.
Through turn 2, Peterson trying to hold back the fresher tires of Dan West Jr. West Jr. has been stronger in the second half of these runs so far tonight. 10th gain last time. Down to the bottom, Peterson. Air arc off the corner. Dan West Jr. trying to get the power down. Can't get the fishing rod out yet.
Under 60 laps to go now as the leaders work their way back across the start-finish. Look at this now. Lake Peterson, Dan West Jr. battle on turn number 2. This is the battle for 3rd and 4th. By the way, it is Jeff Stabnow, the leader, Sean Brightsman. These drivers, number 7, number 8 seat, Frank Harris might be done. Cars that you're seeing are pitting for James Vining on the pit lane. Strategy for him with 60 to go, Justin.
Not a smart strategy, I will say. This puts him now a couple laps down. Like to go way off cycle. Try to go a full fuel run. Frank Harris, wishing everyone good night, has also just left the garage area. Peterson, meanwhile, looking to avoid thinking about that scenario. Dan West Jr. looking to say, hello, I'd like to have your spot. To the outside a bit. Now takes the upper arc. Not able to close up. Battle with playoff drivers continue.
All of this happening now as this battle now happening on track inside the top 10. This is for 8th, 9th, and 10th, I believe. Johnson, Reynolds, Brian Barnes. One of those drivers, Justin, by the way, Brian Barnes, at one time at the top of the board, being consistent in the season. He's also got a chance to advance to the round of 8. This is pretty surprising that the Popsicle Toyota has a chance to run for a championship.
Barnes has been having a very clean, very consistent season. Not too many mistakes in races. That's been the major difference maker when it comes to the popsicle machine. The tough thing is, when you think about that consistency, he's done it primarily without the victory. And he, while been close a couple times, not been breakthrough speed through some of the races. Darlington, he came close. Road Atlanta came close. Tonight, not so much. Speaking of things getting a bit close, Dan West Jr. closes up and passes up the 9.
By the way, let's look at the weather conditions. We never really talked about that when we came on the air. Bottom right of the monitor, your weather conditions here tonight here at Kentucky. There it is, 81 degrees. Track temp warmer than air temp. Justin, why? Under the lights, mind you, with a 6-mile-per-hour mostly cloudy condition.
Lots of rubber buildup on the racetrack. The more laps turned around the track, the more heat built up into the racing surface with the cars. Seen some of that impact as the night has progressed. Not as big as, say, Bristol, where you might see a 10-degree difference, but it's still there regardless. Barnes nearly staying high to the wall.
And mind you, Barnes up to the top of the wall. He's now trying to reel in Reynolds for that spot. A fairly quiet race. It was intense. Don't say that it wasn't. But no calamity. And these drivers doing everything they can, because this is the last opportunity. 12 will become 8. Do the math. 12 minus 4 equals what, Justin?
12 minus 4 equals 8. If I heard the math right. Now you're getting me in my head in terms of math. Cole Raz battling with Kevin Smith, mind you. Cole Raz on a 15-20 lap pressure tire set. They're the most of the field, trying to make up his time as gained 10 seconds this run.
Don't you like math?
Used to be.
We're pitching.
Used to be my favorite.
If Justin had 12 cars and he took away 4, how many cars would Justin have? 50 to go, by the way.
You would have Blurple. I don't know. Into 3 and 4. Cole Raz, though, might be able to reel in at least Sean Brightsman with the tempo he's going.
Back across the start-finish line, 50 laps to go. It is Raz out in front. Correction. Sorry, hashtag fake news. It is Stab now out in front. This is the battle for 5th is what I meant to say. Raz and Smith battle for the top 5. All this going on to the back straightaway. Justin, I don't want to say it, but man, could we see somebody break through the victory lane that's not won in years?
There is a strong chance with the way the tempo's going tonight. Stab now did get reeled in by about 7/10 notice by Sean Brightsman for a bit. He's regained the composure. He's been dialed in. When it comes to this track, Jeff Stabnow has done well here in the past by memory, and guess what? That speed seems to have carried over to this respective car here tonight with this next-gen machinery to be able to run the way he's been running. Second all-time, tied with Dan West Jr. fact for that statistic and starts in this series. Looking for that victory, as mentioned, for the first time in a long while, to say the very least. And he, right now, is doing his job. He hasn't finished in the top. Done well here at Kentucky in the past, statistically. Tonight's very much different.
Bare minimum. Right now doing exactly what he needs to do for the driver. We're currently this year with, of course, 10 top 10s and 2 top 5s for Jeff Stabnow. You heard me say that right. 2 top 10s and 2 top 2 10 top 10s and 2 top 5s. Justin, that is what has put him in some way, shape, or fashion in this opportunity to run to the championship. And mind you, if Jeff Stabnow, being passed now by the Catman James Viney, can pull this off, if somehow, some way, he can pull this off, Justin, he will also climb to the number 3 seed in the playoffs. Wow. From 8th to 3rd.
That would be a major move up, absolutely. That would be a major disruptor a bit to finally break through. But the question mark is going to be how things would play out for the round of 8. Remember, the track's more difficult, per se, to be able to handle with tire wear in this round. You have more speedier circuits like Las Vegas, Talladega, Dover Motor Speedway, and Phoenix on that docket for the drivers to deal with some wild cards, of course, as a result of tracks like Talladega mixed in. Keep in mind, pit window expected to open in about 2 laps for Jeff Stabenow and company, coming to 45 to go as Cole Raz cuts hard around Peterson.
Raz and Peterson, part of that Super Friends gang, battling now for 4th and 5th. Jeff Stabnow still the man out in front, as you see on the scoring ticker up top. As Raz and Peterson battle. Justin, you know I like stats like you do. Listen to this. Jeff Stabnow, last time he went to victory lane with the Northwest Racing Series in general for the trucks, July 30th, 2020. That was at Mossport. We'll never forget that day because he even crashed leading the race and still won. Last time he won a cup race in the Northwest Racing Series, you got to go all the way back, Justin, to April 27th, 2020, Charlotte and the Roval.
I believe he crashed that day, too.
He probably
Yeah, in fact, all the leaders crashed that day. Yeah, remember, Brightsman smacked into the wall from the lead that day. Pit stops, by the way, for Brian Reynolds.
Late race pit stops ongoing. Obviously, it looks like maybe Brian Reynolds couldn't go to the distance. Lake Peterson and Raz are in too, Justin. They're pitting.
So the pit window's open. An interesting play for Raz. Remember, Raz hit 31 laps ago, so he goes off cycle. So Raz, who was in contention for the race lead before he couldn't make it to his halfway goal, now is in a very deep hole.
Oh,
Crash in pit lane.
Brightsman, snap now. Get together. Odenbacher, Team LSRTV, CRN, wreck entering pit road.
You
What in
have
the
got to be
world?
kidding me. Sean Brightsman launched it from 10 car lanes back. No way. Made the commitment cone for speed. Got a speeding penalty. Slams into Stabnow, who's been the dominant car in his strategy. So he, Brian Reynolds, and John Odenbacher of all got in click-it speeding tickets. They are clicked in for the box for speeding penalties.
Justin, how much damage, if any, on Stabnow do you think he went for the fast repair?
If anything, I think he didn't use the fast repair. He didn't even get damaged somehow. So, again, the next-gen car, somehow you can bounce everything off of the side of it and somehow get little damage.
And you're saying Sean Brightsman got penalized, right?
Yes, that was speeding by a mile. Not per hour, by a mile.
And by the way, Justin, those types of mistakes, you can't do that. You cannot do it, especially in the playoffs. No ifs, ands, or buts.
That might cost Brightsman a playoff spot to Kevin Smith as a result of the mistake, absolutely. Brian Barnes coming in. Guess who's in the lead now? Caden Anderson, and now the strategy dice are in play. Kevin Smith to the inside, looking to get his lap back already. Trying to bring Brian Reynolds with them. Reynolds a couple laps down as a result of the speeding penalty. How big is the difference? Right now, the gap needs to be closed up by Stabnow about 9 or so seconds at least.
Justin, I'm assuming that when we had our LSRTV mid-race report, that was when Caden Anderson pitted. When was that? Lap 70? Like 78, 79?
Lap 66. Lap 66.
So exactly at halfway, he came down to pit road. Can he go to the finish, do you think, Justin?
Absolutely can. Here's the question. Can he win the race? Let me check that statistic. Remember I mentioned just 9 seconds? It's just reset itself fully to 23. Here's the question.
Yeah.
Is there enough time to close in 23 seconds? Based on the tempo, it's a possibility, but it depends on the fall off. Right now, it's with the freshies, a lap, second and a half a lap. That difference, long run, could be about as much as 0.6 a lap at the end of the fall off.
And obviously, Justin, we get a caution. Throw that out the window, as you said.
Yes. Anderson absolutely is hoping this race stays green. If it goes green, he is in the golden position. If it doesn't, panic, it becomes a busy battle for the race lead. So in other words, hoping for 0 mistakes, he is the only driver, remember, in contention for the win, let alone the top half of the field on this strategy, who can pull this off.
A lot of storylines, a lot of things happening with 36, now making 35 laps to go when they stream to the line next time by. Caden Anderson on the race of his life in a fuel managed strategy to try to win at Kentucky. Ledbetter second. Jeff Stabnow, the dominator almost all race, sitting in third. Can he run him down? A long way to go and a short time to get there. Or is it? We're side by side. We're back with more from Kentucky in a moment.
This is our series,
So many different pieces that you have to watch out for.
where the stakes are always higher,
$300,000.
where virtual meets reality,
How bad do you want it?
They're wasting no time getting at it.
where the best thrive and the flawless win. This is the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
Hey, it's broadcast personality Wesley Outlet up topside at one of the great racetracks of the world, the Caraway Speedway. And I'd like to remind you to join us every Wednesday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern to 3 p.m. Eastern with coverage of Finish Line, where we talk to everybody from NASCAR to grassroots, like right here at Caraway Speedway. Carolina's Fox Sports Radio affiliates, iHeartRadio, and on the Community Radio Network at 87.5 FM. And remember, thanks to Live Sim Racing Productions, you can actually see the guest panel, ask their questions, get interactive with us with comments and so much more in our chat box. Finish Line every Wednesday. Join us every week. 33 laps to go in the round of 12. Who's going to the round of 8? It's Anderson and Ledbetter. Justin, Jeff Stabnow, so fast, has cut that lead to under 11 seconds with 32 remaining for Stabnow in turn 1.
He's pushing the hardest he's pushed all night long. Right now, 10 laps into the run, just 0.3 of a second of fall off, and not looking to slow down the tempo. Stabnow doing exactly what he needs to do to have a shot at Anderson. The question is, though, will the tires hold on to keep up this close?
30 laps to go next time by. And I believe, Justin, Jeff Stabnow on the virtual run of his life in a long time. picking cars off one by one. Methodically, he wants to do that, Justin, but he does not want to make a mistake in doing so. By the way, he's battling Ledbetter lap cars for second.
Oh, and he hit some. Ledbetter comes up across his nose.
Are you serious? And Jeff Stabnow's got to get back on the high horse and go after him one more time. Ledbetter I'm not saying that it was rough driving, Justin, but maybe Stabnow drove up on the 36 a little too quickly. Maybe Ledbetter didn't know he was there, or did he?
Ledbetter, meanwhile, in 3 and 4, does it again. Ledbetter this time gets caught underneath. No contact. Stabnow clears.
Is there an alliance between Anderson and Ledbetter that we don't know about?
I don't think that's the factor in that, Wesley. I think it's more so older tires. 58 laps for Ledbetter, starting to really fall off. Remember, He said it before the race, I think jokingly, but it's really coming into prevalence here. He's his own worst enemy, where he respects all drivers but himself. Ledbetter's coming in after that incident.
Has to. No other choice. By the way, Stabnow moves to second. Under 10 seconds. 9.5 seconds now, the interval. Justin, damage on the 24 anywhere? Does he have enough time to run down Anderson?
The time damage, I think, is more so the concern. The car is clean yet again somehow. But it's still a 10-second difference. That cost him a lot of ground. That is very valuable.
Get ready to Katie bar the door. It is going to get wild here in K-Town. 27 laps to go. Anderson and Stabnow lead cut to 8 seconds as they work their way back across the start-finish line this time by. It is time to lay your chips and cards on the table. Place your bets, people. Who will it be? Anderson, Stabnow, who both, Justin, are hungry and want to win. And by the way, looking to move into the next round of the playoffs as well.
Stabnow especially needing that win. With the way things could play out, he's doing what he needs to do. But you know, Stabnow wanting to break that streak. Here's the difficult thing. Because of the traffic, there's a new player entering the conversation. It's Dan West Jr. within a second.
The Shelton, Washington native, Dan West Jr., a two-time and defending Northwest Truck Series champion, which, by the way, we are at Texas Motor Speedway for the trucks this Thursday night. Jason Rockefeller, Terry Radford, and myself on the call Thursday night. They will then take a break. Shout out, by the way, to our buddy Terry Radford. He is tuning in to the broadcast, slamming up into the wall, Dan West Jr. Don't need to hit the safer wall barrier. Under 25 to go, Justin. They are back off into the corner. And by the way, both of these cars, they might need to hook up with each other, Justin. 8 cars are faster than 4. Correction, 8 tires are faster than 4. They could try to run down Anderson.
Gotta definitely be careful at this point if you want to keep up with the 24. No mistakes need to be made. You don't want Terry to have to bring out the tire again to showcase why it's important to maintain those tires with the way things are playing with 23 to go.
An invisible tire talk with Terry Radford right now. No doubt about it. He's probably grabbing his tire on the chat box and showing the ins and outs of what you can't do here at Kentucky, what you don't need to do, especially with under 23 laps to go. Jeff Stabnow, Justin, has cut it to almost 6 seconds. Dan West Jr. right behind him, though, about 7.5. That's the difference to the leader. You see just a little bit of the rear deck lid of the number 24 Stabnow. He goes after Ritters. Also, Ritters, Justin, I know he's a lap down, but a solid top run for Clifford in the top 10, top 15 tonight at Kentucky.
I mentioned that there was no one else outside of Anderson contention for a top half finish on the strategy. The air driver who is trying the strategy is Toby Ritters. Toby Ritter's currently 45-46 laps into the run, running 1 second a lap slower than the race leaders. Giving space, though. He tries to jump ahead of drivers who picked up black flags tonight.
20 laps to go. Next time by, it will come down to this. It's Anderson out in front. Stab now, right there. Could tonight be the night? Charlotte, the Roval, last time he won in a cup car. Mossport in a truck, both in 2020. Besides the ARCA Northwest virtual win 2 years ago as well, or last year in 2021, where champion Ryan Bloom prevailed as the man. It has been a dreadful slump for the driver of Jeff Stabnow. The clock is ticking. The laps are dwindling away, Justin, and he is trying to run down Caden Anderson like a bait on a hook. Oh, and by the outside looking in to bump Jeff Stabnow in 8th. He's in 9th. He's on the cut line. 2 points behind Stabnow. He is 6th on the racetrack. 4 points behind, or 4 positions behind Smith. He's got to have a pretty solid run as well. He might need to climb somewhere in the top 5.
Honestly, I think Kevin Smith, because of the speeding penalty seen from Brightsman, might be in the spot he needs. If it wasn't for the speeding penalty, he would not be in the good spot to move on. Taking big risks such as cutting the apron, though, at this point of the run could be a bit sketchy with how the bumps are. But I will say this.
Hello.
No speeding penalty for Brightsman. We're talking about Brightsman in a comfortable spot. Kevin Smith now, because that has a big amount of points he can gain, and right now is tracking to gain on the 46, depending on how many more spots Brightsman can gain with only 16 to go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's going after him. And as the laps tick down, it is going to be 15 remaining next time by. Anderson Stabnow has now cut the interval to 4.5 seconds. There is the driver, Kevin Smith. He is 13 seconds back to those cars, to the leaders. Solid run, but there's Jeff Stabnow. Lap cars, by the way, Justin. He has got to get around. This is the 99 to tag it in front of him. No, correction. It's Ryan Bloom, 25. 15 to go.
Yeah. 5 seconds. Still, the buffer needing to close up. At the rate he's closing, there's not going to be enough time. If it wasn't for the traffic, we might be talking about Stabnow having a shot at a couple moves. But now, he needs a miracle.
Justin, I got a question. With Stabnow being in second and not winning, does this position, you think, going to be good enough for him to advance to the round of 8?
With the way Stabnow is, it might be possible, absolutely. I think he's in a decent position. Helps with down West Unison in the wall to be able to solidify that position. But the main thing for Stabnow is he obviously wants to win. Don't get me wrong. But being able to advance with his best run of the postseason here might also be a way to take the minor victories. As long as he's good on that mark, we'll have to see post-race official.
And post-race will be interesting, no doubt about it, of who will advance. We'll give it to you. We'll unveil the 8 drivers before we sign off tonight in our finish line post-race wrap-up, as well as grab a word with the top 3. Anderson, Stabnow, and West currently who they are. Really thought last week at Iowa, Justin, we thought it was going to be Caden Anderson night. The success he has. Oh, but mind you, Iowa. Kentucky's like Iowa. Same old song and dance, except he's not in second. He's in P1 as we come to 10 to go in what has been a caution-free race so far tonight. here in the Bluegrass Virtual State.
Keep in mind, one of the battles picking up is for 10th spot. Ryan Bloom, Jaden Ledbetter right behind the 55. Fresh tires for Jaden Ledbetter. He works up the outside third groove. And run away from the drivers in old tires. He picks up a top 10, a decent run for Ledbetter.
All of this happening. 10 laps to go. Is it go time here now at Kentucky? You better believe it. And if you've got anything that you've been laying and playing possum with, you better get ready to get that stew ready, Grandma, and stir that pot for Halloween season. If you want to make a run to go to the next round, somebody has got to have that opportunity to make a run. Here comes Stab now, 2.5 seconds. Dan West Jr., Ledbetter, a car that, by the way, decided a big outcome of the race. Solid run, Justin, for Ledbetter, but now he sits in the top 10. Still a good run, 1 lap down.
Whatever reason, just electing to ride behind Dan West Jr. despite fresher tires not pushing the issue on the 55, one of the race lead cars. Stabnow's gap this time is down to 2.6 seconds, however. You do the math, 0.2 per lap. He might get close. He needs to find another 10th a lap if he wants a shot.
Car's in his fray. It's in his view. Peripheral vision shows the rear deck lid of the 37 Ford Chevrolet. The battle of Chevy and Bowtie going at it. Caden Anderson, let's pick him up now as they cross the line with Stabnow. 7 laps to go. Is Stabnow. Anderson, oh yeah, he's fighting lap traffic, Justin. This could possibly be a determining factor. By the way, nothing but clean air for Stabnow to try to run him down.
I think the traffic is the major factor. It's the time. Is there enough of a distance? Still 2 seconds under 2. Anderson's fall off picking up by 0.2 the past couple laps. The gap is down to 1.9 seconds off the corner.
Ready to roll here tonight. Shootout here at Kentucky. Down the back stretch, Justin. There's the interval. He is getting in and reeling him in like bait on a hook. He's getting faster and faster, I believe. He might have been saving something for the end.
Traffic, you mentioned a potential factor. Radio starting to pop up. The dirty air being fed by Troy Daggett may be costing Anderson that time we just mentioned. Stabnow may have just had his miracle answered. It's down to under 5 to go, and Stabnow is now gaining 0.3 a lap. That's enough time if he keeps up the tempo and Daggett doesn't move as they go down the back. Under 1.5 seconds now. Anderson trying to push the issue as Daggett moves up to the top and finally gives him some space for now.
0.3, 0.4, 0.5 a second. He is now reeling him in. Nothing but the tail lights in the view of Jeff Stabnow. Down to 4 to go. Into turn number 1. Desperately, Anderson finally clears Daggett. Stabnow needs to clear him as well. And this is a shootout here with under 6 miles remaining.
Now Stabnow with dirty air down the back straightaway to deal with for the corners. Daggett moves up to the top. Makes it look easy. Stabnow dives his way bottom. Down within the draft. He's within a second.
3 laps to go. Jeff Stabnow here. Kitty, kitty, kitty. He's coming after it. 3 laps to go. Working off of turn number 2. Do not lift off the throttle. He's trying to go full sail ahead on Anderson to the back straightaway.
Now down to 0.5 second. Now looks to charge hard. Quicker through the corner. Anderson trying to wrap the bottom. Coming to 2 laps to go. Stabnow now within 3 car lengths off of turn 4.
2 laps remaining as they flash under the flag stand. 3 miles left to go. Anderson under attack now by Stabnow. He makes makes a run. He tries to close in on him. He has not won since 2020. It was at the Roval. Here comes under the attack. Stab now on Anderson off 2.
Anderson tries to play defense on the inside. Stab now outside, off to 3. Stab now to the third line. Anderson tries to defend on the inside. Doesn't have the grip. Stab now rips it away from Anderson. Coming to the white flag.
White flag in the air. The CRN 1 to go for the final time. Over 20 seconds back. He's ran back down Caden Anderson. He's got around Caden Anderson. He's not won in a long time. Could the drought end? Justin, final time off turn number 2.
And Anderson's ran out of fuel. Anderson coasting through turn 2. Stab now clinches things. Not just with getting the reel out, but able to take advantage of a running out of gas from the 37 of Anderson.
Since April 2020, that's the last time Jeff Stabnow's been to victory lane. This race meant so much more. Back to victory lane. The drought ends, and Jeff Stabnow with this win will advance to the round of 8 in the playoffs. His quest, his drive, his hopes for a championship still are alive for the driver out of Billings, Montana. Jeff Stabnow is back in the Northwest victory lane. A long time coming. You gotta root this guy on. Finally, Justin Prince. Finally.
Finally, indeed. And a major celebration as he crashes the car and gives it its first damage of the night. We thought with that traffic management and the difficulty with Ledbetter, the race might have been gone there. But with Caden Anderson in particular, with the mixture of aero and fuel running out on the final lap, just didn't have the plane of the strategy going exactly his way in that one, as here comes the welcome party.
In his 381st career start with the Northwest Racing Series, he ends a drought with the Cup cars that goes all the way back to April 27th, 2020. The last time he won a Northwest Racing Series event was with the trucks on July 30th of 2020. It is now October 4th, 2022. And Jeff Stabnow is back in victory lane. And here is your unofficial results. Jeff Stabnow is your winner. It's presented by the Majors Garage. Remember, the next event for the Majors Garage Major Series will be on October the 23rd at Daytona. Dan West Jr. will settle for second. Cole Rass third. Lake Peterson fourth. Kevin Smith, I think he's done what he needs to do to advance. He's in fifth, like Justin mentioned. Brian Barnes, I think he'll be the other drivers that'll go to the round of 8. Chris White, a desperate move in seventh for the defending champion. And then you got Caden Anderson, 1 lap down, running out of fuel. Troy Daggett and Jaden Ledbetter, Justin, a good solid top 10 for those drivers here in Kentucky.
Ryan Bloom finishes in 11th in car 25. Sean Brightsman, after a speeding penalty, was in contention for the victory. Instead, it's a 12th-place run. Is the gap enough, though, to the double zero? We'll have to see. Stephen Paulson, 13th in the 58. Toby Ritter's on the one-stop attempt, finished in 14th. Robert Gambill, Brett Johnson round out the one-lap drivers. James Vining ended up having an extra pit stop compared to most people. Finished 17th for his choice on that. Briar Reynolds speeding penalty, an extra stop put him in 18th. John Ottenbacher 19th, and Ron Hunter rounded out the top 20.
Rest of the rundown, including B.J. Tidrick, Frank Harris, Aaron Cooper, and driver Carl Burke. Casey Garber unable to start the race as well. And mind you guys, Garber with problems. He was the number 12 seed. He is probably going to be out of the playoffs. We see the fate of White, Cooper, Smith, guys on the bubble behind the top 8. Jeff Stabnow on that last position, obviously, with this win, will move him from probably the number 3 or 4 seed because he has wins. and it is such a special win. Back to victory lane. Jeff Stabnow, we'll talk to him in a moment, and many, many others. Finish line, post-race wrap-up coming up next at Kentucky. Getting ready for the finish line post-race wrap-up at Kentucky Speedway for the playoffs of the Northwest Race Round of 12. We're also at the top of the hour. We'll pause for 10 seconds of radio identification on the Community Radio Network.
Community Radio Network, WCRN 87.9 FM, Clayton, Garner, Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. We are CRN.
Welcome back to Kentucky Speedway. The playoffs have now wrapped up in the round of 12. We await for the official unveiling of the drivers of 8 that are going. One thing we know for sure, Jeff Stabnow will. We'll find out how these other drivers feel about things in a moment as we welcome you to the finish line post-race wrap-up. Justin Prince and I'm Wesley Outland back here at this exciting race that went caution-free. We'll recap all that here in a moment. But by the way, now we grab third place. Cole Raz, many wins this year. Obviously, he won at Auto Club, 5 wins so far. Cole, your take of this race, did you think it would go caution-free? And, man, what's your thoughts as we get a week off, a much-needed week off, I think, next week to prepare for the next round of 8?
I kind of figured with how tight the setup was, we'd go caution-free there. I didn't really have a game plan going into it. Just kind of logged laps, really. We were already locked into the next round. Just want to try something a little different than the field, and didn't fully commit to playing the fuel game. Caden Anderson was just 1 lap short, so if he just pitted a lap later in that first run, he could have had a better chance at getting that win there. But big congrats to Jeff, and we'll move on to the next round.
An intriguing play to like to come in absolutely lap 60, but the interesting thing too with tonight was the way the rhythm seemed to play out much of the night. Talk about the rhythm factor at A track that can be difficult to maintain a rhythm with different bankings, mind you, in turns 1 and 2 compared to 3 and 4.
I don't know. I mean, it's not to say. I feel like the first run when we were all grouped together on the same tire and whatnot, I felt like it was just kind of a normal race on who's gonna go out of the gates real quick and who's gonna manage their stuff. And I feel like we managed our tires really well. So it would have been nice to maybe have a few yellows just to keep playing that strategy more and more. But I feel like I don't know. Once you throw on some new tires, you feel like superhero and you just want to go. And I think that hurt myself, but others were able to manage that a little better on the long green flag runs like that. So I don't know. I didn't struggle too much with the rhythm, but definitely wish we maybe had one or two yellows there to mix it up and get some more excitement going.
We're talking to the man that's got 6 wins on the year right now in 19 events, 20 total, with 15 top 5s and 17 top 10s. Cole Rass. Cole, it looks like points have updated. Unofficially, you will stay in the number 2 seed. Obviously, we were thinking that was where you would end up anyway. Your take of having a week off and coming back for the next race, and obviously it is going to be a lot more of a grind there when we come back after this next week off. It's on to, of course, Las Vegas, a track that you've done well at before. And bottom line, Talladega, wild cards that are in the event, Dover, Phoenix. What do you think those races are going to be like to determine who's going to go to the championship for? Do you go out quickly, make a statement, win like you did at Auto Club, and put yourself in the championship race?
I mean, I think that's all you can hope for is to get it locked in early, and you don't got to worry about it. You can really just focus on Miami at the end of the year. I think Vegas is a good place for us. It's going to be a little bit of a toss-up between, just the group of people you've seen run up front all year long. So Talladega is just you're shooting darts in the dark. I feel like you just never know what you're going to get out of that race. So, we won Daytona earlier in the year, so I feel like we're strong on the restrictor plate program as a team. But, the other 2 races, Dover's not my best. Phoenix, I'm really looking forward to. And, of course, Miami, I'm really looking forward to. But, as long as we can just salvage good finishes and then hopefully get a win to lock ourselves in, I think we'll have a good shot come Miami. But, I wish we didn't have a week off. I wish we could keep going. And, yeah, I hate waiting around. So this week off is going to be killing me.
Well, Bud, it's always great talking to you. Solid run. We will, one more question, and I'll let you thank your sponsors. Can you get a chance, you think, to make a run for the championship in the Truck Series, or is right now your focus just on the Cup ride?
I'm going to try really hard on Thursday night to try and get a win. The schedule outside of the sim life has been pretty hectic. Been down in Arizona for a while and just got back home today in Oregon. So, we'll see what we can do Thursday night. But yeah, I feel like we've had such a strong year in both of them. It'd be a shame to miss out on running for a championship even more into this playoff season. So we'll see what we can do if we can lock ourselves in. We're obviously going to try and make a run for it, but you just never know. But sponsor-wise, big thank you to LSRTV for what you all do for the series, and the Wells Johnson Master Wrench, Ernst Performance Shocks, Magnus Rear Ends. We're going to go race engines and everybody that helps us out in the real world. So again, thank you to all you guys, and congrats to Jeff.
That's the driver, of course, Mr. Cole Raz. He will finish in the number 3 position. Runner-up the event, Dan West Jr. Looks like Dan West Jr. will be somebody that we'll be watching into a race for the championship, not only on the Cup side on the truck side of things, but also on the Cup side, and things looking really, really strong for the driver out of course, Shelton, Washington. Dan, you'll be looking to be in the number 5 seed as Cole's number 2. Your take of this race, fighting this tight car, do you think that's the outcome of the caution-free race? And, man, I know you got to be ecstatic for the man 1 position ahead of you to finally get off the schneid, might I say, Jeff Stabnow, pardon the pun, and go back to victory lane tonight, Dan.
Yeah, it's awesome to see Jeff get that monkey off his back and finally get that win. He puts a lot of work in behind the scenes that people don't realize, and he's been more frustrated with himself than anybody. So Once you get that win, I think more will come. So I'm extremely happy for him for that. As far as the race goes, I felt like it was kind of a boring race, my opinion. I just didn't like the car, the way it handled, the way you had to save that right front. I'm with Cole. I'd like to have seen some more cautions. I'm sure Jeff didn't. Jeff was awesome on a long run, and he was definitely the guy to beat, in my opinion. There was different strategies out there. There was, I don't know, 2 to 3 to 4 different strategies. I didn't really know which one that I really wanted to be on, but I kind of played follow the leader in a way, because I really didn't plan out a strategy. So it was just kind of a different race. I hope the fans liked it, but at the end of the day, I don't know. At the end, it was getting kind of exciting.
It seemed exciting for the most part. You kept up with Jeff Stabenow most of the final runs of this race as well. How would you describe that progression to close up to that main group? Because keep in mind, there were a few drivers who ran away early on. You're amongst those who had to claw their way back into the conversation.
Yeah, starting 13th didn't help. And like Cole said, out of the gate, you're just trying to manage, right? You're trying to manage your tires, mainly the right front tire. So you want to go. I mean, it's funner to go fast, right? But at the end of the day, you're trying to manage the tires, and it's hard to find that pace. But back in 13th is not a place I wanted to stay. So with that said, I had to try to drive towards the front and you know get some good position before the first pit stop.
Dan, we'll segue this into your sponsors, bud. What do you think we're going to take on the week off next week to reset? And what is it going to take to put yourself now in that opportunity to race towards a championship? And mind you, might I add, you're now in the hunt to try to win the championship in the Cup Series and your Truck Series for the third year in a row.
It's there's a lot of competition out here, man. It's whether you're truck side, cup side, it's a struggle. I'm trying to put the work in now. We're at the end of the season, and I'm trying to work a little harder. I feel like I have to work harder than some of these guys, but I'll put the effort in. I'm not really sure what the guy has to do, but just put the work in and try to be smart on the track, and hopefully the luck goes your way. As far as Effective Web Solutions, LSRTV, Northwest Racing Series, CRN. Appreciate you guys for everything you do, and congrats, Jeff.
Driver to Shelton, Washington. He'll be ready to go for that Truck Series crown for the three-peat as well. The hat trick, if you will, if you're a fan of hockey. We love hockey, Justin Prince and myself. And, of course, that's the driver of Dan West Jr. Solid top three podium tonight. He will now move to unofficially, and we unveil the top 8 for the round of 8 after next week off in the first race in Texas. Las Vegas. He will be the number unofficial 5 seed. This driver went from the number 8 seed unofficially all the way to number 3. Probably in the whole duration of the playoffs this year, the highest climber at one time. Up 5 spots from 8th to 3rd. He is going to continue for a quest to a championship, but most of all, in his 381st career start, a drought that goes all the way since the Roval of April 2020, Jeff Stabenow back in victory lane. Jeff, congratulations.
Thanks, Wesley.
How are you feeling? You're speechless, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, just sitting here listening to you say all that, thinking it's just been too long. Got a lot of wins in this series, but, hard to believe. Went almost, 2 years there without getting one. Really surprising there. It's just a testament to how good the competition has gotten in this series, right? You just can't make mistakes and expect to get a win. We made one tonight, and actually 2, and barely got away with it. So normally we just don't get away with those.
How would you describe the pressure as the strategy game seemed to unfold, with Anderson being the only person trying his strategy and you having to reel him on in near picture perfect, as you said. You made a few mistakes and still were able to close up for the final 2 laps.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I didn't think the one stopper was in play. I was really surprised when guys were pitting there on lap 66 for the first time. I thought that we were carrying the speed with the 2 pit stops there, and at times I was running pretty good and kind of building a nice cushion. I really thought that I was going to come out ahead of the 2 stoppers or the 1 stoppers there. We had the 2 mistakes. First and foremost, the goal was to get in the playoffs. That was even above the win, and so I knew who I had to beat and where. So I felt pretty good about my chances come that second pit stop. And I got in there pretty soft, just trying real hard. I was running a whole lot of rear brake disparity there on the master cylinders. And so I was trying real hard not to screw up getting into that pit. So I came in real easy in that pit stop. And then Sean and I got tangled up a little bit. He got a speeding ticket. So, that cost us a bit of the cushion. And then we got it back and, kind of got into the back or the side of Jaden there when he got tight. And I think that one cost me about 3 seconds. And that was where I thought I'd lost it. I knew that Caden was going to be really tight on gas. I wasn't sure he had enough, but, we just, those last 15 laps, I just drove everything I had in that car. Every lap, we just figured I was going to run the tire off and maybe catch him or, try to get it, maybe end up third or something. So, just kind of pulled it off there. I don't know how much of that was Caden run out of gas, and if he hadn't run out of gas, if we'd have caught him, I know he was trying to save there. So, we just give it everything we had.
By the way, obviously, we won't say anything about the slump. Jeff Stabnow, 381 career starts counting tonight. This is, by the way, his 38th career win of the Northwest Racing Series. To go along with Jeff Stabnow's also starts and wins, it goes now unofficially with tonight now being official. 151 top 5s, 231 top 10s, 56 poles for the driver out of course, Billings, Montana. Jeff, how do you feel knowing that you are the all-time starter of the Northwest Racing Series?
Like maybe I need to get a life. I don't know. Been doing this for a long time.
Interrogation with Wesley, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, hey, just can keep on beating me up, man. That's cool. No, I don't run a lot of the official races. This is what I run. I run 2 league races a week when we're in season, and that's pretty much it. That's about all I do. Run some practices. So, there's a lot of these guys that were racing that have that many starts or more in a year if you go back and look at their official races. So, it's not that bad. But, no, I never intended to be the all-time start leader, but I guess when you run the league, that's kind of where you end up.
Justin, you got a question for Mr. Jeff Stabnow? It's been a while since we talked to the man in 24.
Can you do it again next time out?
I don't see why not, other than pretty stiff competition. I mean, we're capable of having good finishes. I had a few this year that I think we're in contention for wins at one point or another, and just things happen. So if we can avoid the pitfalls, I think, we can be in some of the races. Like Toll, Caden, Dan, Sean. I mean, it's just super stiff competition, but I'd like to think I'm capable.
Hey, I gotta ask you a question and segue this also into your questions, and I have a segue of your sponsors as well. And that question is, you always talk about you needing to practice. How much practice did you get here tonight at Kentucky before the race started?
Let me tell you what, I wouldn't be here without the teammates tonight. Dan poked me Saturday night, which is not a normal practice night for us. And he said, hey, we need good finishes. Let's go run some laps. So, Dan and I came out Saturday night and put in a couple field runs. And then, we put in a good night Sunday night. So we probably put in more laps. I don't know, maybe 250 laps before this race. Dan and I just doing field runs, working on strategy, trying to figure out tire save strategies, So 100%, if Dan hadn't poked me and gone out and us doing the field runs, I definitely wouldn't be here tonight. That's where I figured out exactly. I came into this race with a plan. I was going to race the track. I wasn't going to race anybody on the track. I was committed in 3 and 4 to splitting that seam and trying to de-wedge that car a little bit to save a little bit of right front tire. I had the line. I was committed to the line that I had planned out from those runs with Dan and the fuel strategy. We haven't been putting in the work, or I just haven't had the time. But this week is probably the most work we put in for one of these cup races all week, and it showed. And big shout out to the teammates there for the help on that one.
Gotta ask you one more question.
You bet.
I had a steak for my birthday with my family for dinner last night. I understand that you've got a massive steak in your freezer. Are you going to cook that sucker up tonight to celebrate your win?
We might just have to do up something here Friday night. We'll have to break out the smoker and throw some meat on there and get some meat sweats.
Hey, man, sponsors, congratulations, Jeff. I could talk to you for another 10 minutes.
Big thanks. First of all the teammates, man. Like I said, John and Sean and, Brett and Devin and Dan and just what fantastic teammates to go out there and work together with and do this. I just couldn't ask for better teammates. And then Team LSRTV, man, my other teammates, again, I just couldn't ask for better teammates, Justin and yourself and, everything that Cody does and Terry and a couple of the new guys that, have come on there and just surrounded by amazing people. Team LSRTV, whether it's on the track or you guys in the booth. Big thanks to all of you.
Back to victory lane. And, of course, it'll be career win number 38. The driver out of Billings, Montana, here tonight at Kentucky. And he moves up to the number 3 seed. That is, of course, the driver of Jeff Stabnow. We go to commercial break. When we come back, Justin and I wrap things up, prepare for a week off, reveal the final 8 that will race in the next race when we come back in 2 weeks at Vegas, and give our analysis and finally thoughts on Jeff Stabnow. Back to victory lane. We'll wrap it up in just a moment. Back here, of course, at the Kentucky Motor Speedway. Only fitting to see Jeff Stabnow, Justin, make his way back to victory lane. Man, it's been a long time coming. We've called some close moments that seemed like that it was going to be his night, but he just needed to get some more opportunities. It seemed like everything fell his way. For the race to be caution-free, it had a lot of strategy. It was a lot of excitement and fun. And I think it's only fitting to say, man, Jeff Stabnow back in victory lane. I think, as I said, Justin, you've got to be a fan of his. He's like an underdog story that's not won in so long. It was a great moment.
Great moment indeed to have to close in as much as he did with how hard he had to fight for this win tonight. It was great to see him finally break through for the first time in a few years, to say the very least. And you can tell with some of the emotions, he was happy, to say the least, to finally break on through. He had to fight for it, though, to be able to make sure he had his stake for the next position in the playoffs. Pun not intended there.
The points have been updated, and it looks like right now, unofficially, it is going to find, of course, these drivers of Lake Peterson with 11 wins on the year. Cole Raz, the first 2 seeds with 11 and 6 wins, the most of anybody. Jeff Stabnow, Justin, I've got to reiterate to that, from the number 8 spot to number 3 with this win.
Very critical win for the standings, but I think when you look towards the bubble, maybe, Wesley, That's where the panic starts to set in. Absolutely. We mentioned how Sean Brightsman's speeding penalty could have cost him and was likely to have cost him a spot. How about by a single point to Kevin Smith and Briar Reynolds?
Yeah. Let's unveil now the top 8 that are going to race for the championship of the round of 8, beginning in 2 weeks at Las Vegas. The next race, of course, it will be Lake Peterson, the number 1 seed, Cole Raz, the number 2 seed. By the way, they were the winners at the Roval in Iowa for Lake Peterson. Cole Raz won at Auto Club. Jeff Stabnow, winner tonight at Kentucky, from the number 8 seed up to the number 3 seed, 5 spots. Highest climber of anybody in the playoffs so far this season. What a Hail Mary. You talk about a Hail Mary, that goes to Jeff Stabnow. Caden Anderson, obviously, though the bad luck he had looking for a win, and he wants to win, he'll fall back to the number 4 seed. Dan West Jr. is still in. Brian Barnes, Mr. Consistency of the Northwest, Justin, what I like to call him. He's now moved to the number 6 seed, still in the show with no wins. Kevin Smith with a Hail Mary also to do what he needed to do to bump from 9th to 7th to move into the championship round of 8. And by the way, Briar Reynolds, he was in the number 11 seed. He is now up 3 spots. Somehow, no, correction. He was up in 6 spots. Somehow, some way, he holds on, Justin, by the skin of his teeth, by 1 point, as you mentioned, over Sean Brightsman to advance to the round of 8. Drivers that are out for a championship run this year include 2020 Cup Series champion of the Northwest, Sean Brightsman. That faulty mistake on pit road, getting into Stabnow and speeding, might have been the benefactor. And then, of course, last year's champion, Chris White. He will not defend the title. And also, Aaron Cooper out, and obviously unable to start the race, Kenneth Garber. So, Justin, I leave you with this before we close. What do you sum up the 8 drivers that are about to battle in 2 weeks to decide who goes to the championship 4 in 4 races to run for the championship crown? And one thing we know, there's going to be a new champion.
Absolutely, and for Sean Brightsman, I think in particular, the first of those ones out, that's a major blow because Brightsman was one of the major contenders for this year's championship outside of the Super Friends. But now it's the battle of which Super Friend can find their cape, power their way, and fly their way into the championship winner's circle with how things can play out. Peterson, Raz, Anderson, I think we're ready to see how the boxing gloves are going to fly in regards to those 3. But then you put in the mixture of drivers like Stabnow starting to build momentum, starting to gain confidence. Kevin Smith turning up the wick a bit on the speedways in particular, with a lot of speedways left to go. This could go in a lot of different directions, this championship. The question is, which direction does it fly for the next time out?
Will certainly be a fun race coming up in 2 weeks. By the way, we came on the air humbled and torn, and we still are. But this was what Rick Eshelman will want us to do, Justin Prince, because this is who we are. The fabric of our nature is an announcer. It is a very different breed of people. We travel long hours on the road at night or during the day. We spend so much time away from our family, loved ones, relationships, marriages, and friends because we love the passion of what it is that we do. By the way, I want to leave you with this, as me and Justin can honestly say that this race is going to pay a lot of respects in the memory of Mr. Rick Eshelman of the World of Outlaws, who touched so many people. And as we show his image one more time as our final send-off, I leave you with this. A man that spent over an hour with me at Eldor. He taught me so much, and I don't even think he even realized it. He taught so many people. He touched the lives of so many people, whether as drivers, friends, announcers, colleagues, and most of all, race fans. Godspeed to a voice that will remain forever in our hearts. Remember Rick Eshelman. And I leave you with this. If at any time in your life you are contemplating or thinking of suicide, always remember that there's somebody out there to help. Call the National Suicide Hotline toll free at 1-800-273-8255. Or if you're in Canada, text 85258. If you're in the United States, text 988 to reach the U.S. National Suicide Prevention Line. Find help to find some healing. Do not end your life. Whatever you're going through, there is something out there. There is someone out there that can help you keep from walking off that ledge. My love to all of you. I wish that with the friendship I had with Rick Eshelman, I could have been able to try to talk to him over whatever it was he was going through. Justin, I know we've all been in dark times. I know you have as well, my friend. Your final take on this race, your final take on his memory. And again, I think I said it best. We do what we do because we love what we do, and that is why we're going to carry on in his memory, in his honor, but because it's honestly who we are as announcers and people.
This race, again, putting on a show to say the least when it comes to strategy, when it comes to execution. And for many people, in terms of this race, the impact likely going to be strong in terms of how things play out the rest of the way. Absolutely. For 2022 in this series.
It will certainly be exciting. It will certainly be fun. We will overcome the pain that we have. We will remember the moments and the memories that we had with this man and with the people that he touched in the sport. And for whether it's virtual or reality, we all continue to race in memory of people like Rick Eshelman, because that's what he would want us to do. And it's so fitting that for while we hurt, somebody like Jeff Stabnow ends a long drought to bring a smile to our face, to know that that might be some type of healing and bringing back a smile to somebody that we know has been on a long drought also for many years in the Northwest. We take off next week. We come back at Vegas. For Jeff Stabnow, Charles Wooten, everybody at Rocket Media. For, of course, Justin Prince, I am Wesley Outland. Don't forget the Trucks at Texas on Thursday. And we'll find out who those drivers will be the final 8, like Jeff Stabnow and the other 7 here tonight with his win race towards the Northwest Cup Championship. Be good to one another. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Bye-bye. Congrats again to Stabnow. Winner at Kentucky.